Yours is on social media, yeah? Alright, whenever you're ready.
So how many of you have at least one social media account? And how many hours a day do you spend scrolling through social media, just wasting time because you have nothing better to do, or because you're procrastinating homework that's due at midnight? Next slide, please. There are over 3 billion social media users on Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and others, and it may be popular, but frequent use of social media can have negative and lasting effects on our mental health and our perceptions of the world. Next slide, please. As an avid user of social media myself, I've experienced these effects firsthand, and I want everyone to be aware of the effects it can have on your life. As young adults, we're especially vulnerable to these effects. Today I hope you will listen as to why constantly using social media is detrimental to your mental health, privacy and safety, and your perception of what is real or right. Next slide, please. Constant use of social media negatively affects our mental health. As college students, many of us are very busy, and we don't get to sleep until late at night. And there are lots of factors that contribute to insufficient sleep, but social media plays a key role in keeping us up at night. A 2016 article in the Journal of Adolescence refers to a 2011 study in which 268 young adolescents were surveyed, and 37% reported losing sleep due to the use of social media. According to this same article, there are two main reasons that social media keeps us up at night. The first reason is that notifications buzzing all night can disturb our sleep. The same 2016 article states that 86% of adolescents sleep with their phone in the bedroom, often under the pillow or in their hand. And the phone repeatedly going off all night can make it hard to fall or stay asleep. The second reason is the fear of missing an important message or notification creates the pressure to stay up late. So many teens struggle to relax because anxiety about missing out on something while they are asleep. Social media also affects our mental health and well-being. Many people log on to social media expecting to see the exciting things their friends and family are doing, but they are left feeling often depressed and isolated. A 2017 article by Alice Walton on the Forbes website stated that there was a study that found that the more time people spent on these sites, the more socially isolated they perceive themselves to be. Another way social media alters our perception is with the comparison factor. This same article by Walton states that many of us fall into the trap of comparing ourselves to others as we scroll through our feeds and make judgments about how we measure up. In both upward and downward comparisons, people felt worse about themselves, and both comparisons were linked to depressive symptoms. It can also lead to feelings of jealousy. Seeing other people's seemingly amazing and perfect lives would make anybody feel a little jealous. The same 2017 article by Walton states that it can become a vicious cycle. Feeling jealous can make a person want to post jealousy-inducing posts of their own, in an endless circle of one-upping and jealousy. We get caught up in a delusion, and as the article by Walton says, like a drug, we think getting a fix will help, but it actually makes us feel worse. Yet people keep going back to social media hoping to find happiness because it's very addictive. According to a 2019 article by Jenna Hilliard on the Addiction Center website, social media is addictive both physically and psychologically. The website states that when an individual gets a notification, such as a like or a mention, the brain receives a rush of dopamine and sends it along reward pathways, causing him or her to feel pleasure. Addiction becomes a real problem when people rely on it to cure their depression and loneliness. They look to social media to find things that they don't have in their real lives, and they spend so much time on social media that they never get the opportunity to find what they want. Next slide, please. Social media is not only bad for mental health, but it also poses a threat to our safety and privacy. Social media is not always safe and secure, and many social media sites are breeding grounds for hackers. Next slide, please. As the number of social media users rises, so does the number of hackers. According to a 2017 article by George Beale on the Next Web website, any hacker that gets a foot in your door inherits access to all your contacts, and if you use social media to comment on retailers, restaurants, or services, the hacker gets access to your browsing and shopping history. So when you're connected to public Wi-Fi, anybody else connected to that Wi-Fi can gain access to your accounts. The information we put in profiles helps hackers to personalize phishing scams, and all of your personal preferences, political opinions, and social commentary are exposed when you're hacked. According to the same article by Beale, there are many different techniques hackers can use to get our information. Hackers can easily access information by physically stealing the devices we are signed in on, giving them immediate access to accounts, contacts, and history. Another technique is keyloggers, which are programs that can be leached into your system to report every move you make on your computer, and the program can then mine for passwords, contacts, and personal information. And hackers will target a system no matter how big or small, so if you think your boring old Facebook page isn't interesting to a hacker, then you're wrong. According to the same 2017 article by Beale, the human error that causes people to click on a link sent to them in an email is exponentially greater on social media sites because they are more likely to consider themselves among friends. So it may seem that the most obvious choice for hacking is a big secret database or a rich celebrity, but most hackers target ordinary people because their information is easy to access and it's far more valuable to them than we might think. Next slide, please. Privacy settings don't keep things as private as we think they do. A 2018 article by Maggie Guinta and Rita John stated that although there are efforts by many social media platforms to protect user privacy, violations of privacy and unwelcomed content sharing are constant risks. So just because you set your account to private does not mean that all your information will be kept 100% private. According to a 2012 article by Lois Beckett on the ProPublica website, personal details from our social media profiles are being collected, analyzed, and sold to companies, and they then use this information to target you with ads and products that you're likely to buy. But aside from the possibility of being hacked, social media isn't always safe for another reason, cyberbullying. The same article by Guinta and John reported cyberbullying as the use of electronic forms of contact to inflict willful and repeated harms to others. Social media is the perfect platform for cyberbullying because information can be spread wide very quickly. So even if you manage to evade the hackers, you still risk running into lots of fake news. Many people rely on social media to get their news and knowledge about what is going on in the world. Next slide, please. According to a 2017 article by Kai Shu and others, it was found that social media now outperforms television as the major news source. Next slide, please. News is posted to social media 24/7, and it's a fast and easy way to keep up with the current events. Next slide. The problem with relying solely on social media to get your news is that not all of the news posted to social media is 100% accurate, and some of it is just completely made up. The news source could also be very biased, and fake news tends to spread a lot faster than the real news. When people read news on social media, they are just looking for a quick and short summary of the current events. A 2019 article by Antonio Kim states that most individuals use social media for entertainment purposes or to connect with friends rather than for work purposes. So individuals in a casual mindset are less likely to critically consider information than those in a more work-related mindset. So in other words, people who are scrolling through social media are not likely to fact-check the information that they're reading. Propaganda can also be very dangerous on social media. Presidential elections are coming soon, and there are many young voters that will have a say in who our next president is. If these new tech-savvy voters rely solely on social media to get their information about the candidates, they could have information that is biased or false and twisted and make their decision without all the necessary information. It is important to fact-check information on social media because these platforms make it so easy to manipulate information so that many others think and act the way that people want them to. Next slide, or 2 slides. In summary, it is obvious that there are many reasons why social media is dangerous. So many people spend hours every day mindlessly scrolling through social media, but it is important to remember to not let ourselves get caught up in comparisons and fake news. People are not going to stop using social media, but we must be cautious of the effects on our mental health, how vulnerable we allow ourselves to be when we post things for the world to see, and the credibility of the information that we read. Social media is a big part of many people's lives, helping people to keep in contact and establish connections all over the world. It's not going anywhere with the amount of users growing every day, but we have to make sure that we do not let these apps control us.